Trevor shifts closer without asking, and suddenly the night is warmer. His fur brushes your palm, and your hand stays there without conscious thought. The warmth is gentle at first, like the faint glow of a stone that's been in the sun all afternoon. But as seconds pass, it seeps deeper, past skin, past muscle, as if it has been invited in. The heat is not rushing. It is patient. Your fingers curl slightly into his coat, the softness catching light from the window. Each strand of fur holds its own small air pocket, a tiny insulator trapping what his body has made. You think of how many creatures, yourself included, carry warmth without thinking, a quiet generosity built into biology. Warmth moves between bodies in ways science has named. The contact between your skin and Trevor's is conduction, heat traveling from the higher temperature surface to the lower until both find a shared middle. Molecules in his fur and skin vibrate faster, passing their motion into yours, one to the next, until your own molecules join the pace. The exchange is invisible, but its presence is undeniable. Beneath your skin, thermoreceptors wake. They measure more than heat. They measure safety. The signals they send travel through thin nerve fibers to your spinal cord, then upward to the brain. The hypothalamus listens closely. It is the body's thermostat, always balancing between too cold and too warm. The message tonight is simple. Stay here. Your blood vessels obey. Arterioles near the surface widen, a process called vasodilation. This opening allows more warm blood to flow close to the skin, matching Trevor's gift with your own. As circulation increases, muscles nearby begin to release their small knots. The tension that had been holding its breath in your forearm exhales. Trevor doesn't move, but his warmth changes slightly, deepening in one spot, fading in another, following the rhythm of his own circulation. You find that your breathing has matched this rhythm without asking. The chest rises, the chest falls, and heat settles into the gaps between each breath. Warmth carries more than temperature. It carries memory. Your body remembers the security of a blanket wrapped tight, the sunlit weight of an afternoon nap, the clasp of another's hand in winter. Each of these memories is partly chemical. The release of oxytocin in response to contact, the quieting of cortisol when heat signals safety, the slower heartbeat when muscles are told, you are not in danger now. Outside, rain continues its slow percussion. The room's air is cool enough to make Trevor's warmth stand out in relief. It's a kind of contrast therapy, though softer than alternating ice and heat. The cool air brushes your face while heat pulls in your palm. This difference sharpens sensation, the way shadows sharpen light. The physics of heat transfer has other forms too. Some of Trevor's warmth reaches you through radiation, infrared waves emitted from his body, traveling without needing air or contact, like sunlight crossing space. If you were to pull your hand away, you'd still feel the faint glow in the air between you. In winter, this radiant exchange is what makes sitting near a fire feel different from standing in a heated room. There is also convection, subtle here, but present, the small currents of warm air rising from Trevor's body, mixing with cooler air in the room. Your skin senses these changes too, even if the mind does not name them. It's the same phenomenon that makes you aware of a heater. Across the room before you've stepped closer, your mind drifts as the science weaves into sensation. You imagine heat as a slow tide, molecules moving with just enough urgency to share their energy before resting again. In this tide, there is no taking or giving, only balancing. Trevor cools slightly where you touch. You warm slightly there. Equilibrium is not a moment, but an ongoing conversation. This conversation happens within you as well. Deep inside, brown adipose tissue, brown fat, hums quietly. Unlike white fat, which stores energy, brown fat spends it to make heat, especially when the body senses cold. It is more active in infants, but still present in adults, particularly around the neck and shoulders. Being close to another's warmth tells it to rest, just as your heartbeat rests when danger is absent. Trevor shifts again, pressing more firmly into your palm. You notice the weight now as much as the heat, a gentle reminder that warmth often comes with presence. The pressure increases the surface area of contact, letting heat flow more efficiently. The physics of touch and temperature are not separate. Here, they are layered, like the weave of his fur under your hand. The mind loves to link warmth with comfort, and the body reinforces that link every time it happens. Temperature-sensitive neurons connect not only to the hypothalamus, but also to the insular cortex, a brain region tied to emotion. That is why a warm drink can soften your mood, or why a heated blanket can feel like kindness. Warmth is not just felt. It is interpreted. In animals, sharing heat is survival. Birds huddle to reduce heat loss, each one benefiting from the group's combined insulation. Humans, too, evolved in conditions where body heat was currency. Our skin, though bare compared to Trevor's coat, can be remarkably efficient at exchanging temperature when pressed to another's. Tonight, the exchange is quiet, but no less valuable. Your hand relaxes further, resting without any thought of moving. The warmth has seeped far enough to change your sense of time. Minutes feel like shallow water you can linger in. The rain outside has softened to a drizzle, and the air in the room holds the faint scent of damp earth from earlier. You wonder briefly how long the warmth will last once you move away. Heat, after all, follows the laws of thermodynamics. It flows until temperatures equalize. But the sensation of it, a memory stored in skin and muscle, can outlive the actual temperature change. In that way, warmth is a little like kindness. The effect remains after the act itself is over. Trevor stirs, but does not pull away. His breathing deepens, and you realize you've matched it again. The synchronization feels unplanned but inevitable, as if warmth itself encourages harmony. When two bodies share a temperature, perhaps they are more likely to share a rhythm too. The weight of his presence and the steady seep of heat into your hand make you think of the term thermal comfort, used by architects and engineers. It describes the balance point where a person feels neither too hot nor too cold, a state influenced by air temperature, humidity, clothing, and radiant heat. But here, in this quiet room, thermal comfort feels more like an emotional state than an engineering equation. Your muscles loosen another degree, and you realize that the warmth has traveled beyond your hand, carried by blood flow into the arm, into the shoulder, into the chest. The body is an efficient courier when it chooses to be. Warmth, once shared, is distributed with care. The night deepens. Shadows on the wall have faded. The rain's rhythm has slowed to occasional drops. But Trevor's warmth remains steady, an anchor in the cooling air. You think of how easily warmth escapes in the open world, lost to wind, to water, to distance, and how rare it feels to hold it in place. You do not need to hold it tightly. You simply stay close, letting physics do the work, letting the body interpret the science as comfort. The molecules will slow eventually, the temperatures will meet, and the moment will dissolve into memory. But for now, you are still inside it. You breathe in, feeling the last traces of heat settle into you. And in that softened place, you begin to notice another signal rising, a sound so steady it could be mistaken for silence. The rain changes its voice tonight. What began as a scattered tapping has gathered into something steadier, a rhythm that is not fixed, but feels unbroken. Each drop falls with its own weight and speed, yet somehow they belong together. You lie, still, letting the sound arrive without chasing it. Like a listener in the back row of an endless concert. It begins at the window, soft as a fingertip brushing glass. Then a louder note from the gutter, a small splash from the street. Between, These beats is silence, not empty, but filled with waiting. You count without deciding to 1, 2, 3. Drip. Then the pattern changes, and you let counting go, allowing the sound to find you instead of the other way around. Trevor's ears twitch toward the noise, then relax again. You imagine how he hears it. More frequencies than you can, sharper edges. In each splash, perhaps the faint hiss of rain hitting leaves far beyond your reach. For you, the rain is a blur of tones, high where it strikes metal, low where it sinks into soil. The science of this comfort begins in your auditory system. Tiny hair cells in the cochlea bend with each vibration in the air, turning mechanical motion into electrical signals. These signals travel along the auditory nerve to the brainstem, where they're sorted for pitch, loudness, and timing. Yet, the rain offers something different from speech or music. Its irregularity keeps the brain curious, while its overall steadiness tells the brain it is safe. Researchers call this kind of sound pink noise, a cousin of white noise, but with more energy in the lower frequencies. It is the deep hush of a waterfall, the long rush of ocean surf, the balanced thrum that masks sudden disturbances. Pink noise is particularly good at lulling the brain towards sleep because it matches the way natural systems produce sound, energy, spread evenly across octaves, softening harsh edges without flattening detail. You notice how the rain seems to draw a curtain between you and the rest of the world. Other sounds, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant passing car, fade into its texture. This is auditory masking at work. The brain, when given a consistent backdrop, spends less energy processing every stray noise. Your nervous system is relieved of its constant watch, able to shift from alertness toward restoration. The rhythm deepens. Some drops come in clusters, little flurries of sound, and pause as if the clouds are catching their breath. You find yourself breathing with them, lungs filling in the pause, emptying as the next rush arrives. This synchronization is not conscious, but the body loves to mirror what it senses. It is the same instinct that sways you with slow music. That rocks a child to sleep. Trevor lifts his head briefly, listening harder, then rests it down again. His breathing joins yours and the rain's, 3 rhythms layered into one. You feel your muscles loosening another degree, as if each drop takes a grain of tension with it. When it falls. There is comfort in the randomness too. The brain evolved to detect patterns, but it also finds peace in patterns that are too complex to fully solve. The rain is not a perfect loop. It's a series of micro-events, each similar, but never the same. Your mind drifts trying to predict the next drop, but never needs to be right. This gentle unpredictability prevents boredom without inviting stress. Outside, water gathers in the downspout, its sound shifting from patter to trickle to a hollow glug. Each change offers new textures without breaking the spell. You imagine the path of a single drop, from cloud to air, from leaf to roof, from roof to gutter, from gutter to earth. Each journey is short, but together they weave something endless. You let your focus soften until you're not pinpointing any one sound, but taking in the whole field at once. This is diffuse listening, like looking at the night sky without trying to name the constellations. In this mode, the brain's default network can hum in the background, making quiet repairs and connections while you rest. The sound also carries temperature in it. You can hear the coolness in the rain, the way it softens the air, the way it seems to settle dust you didn't know was there. Your skin responds even without a draft. Tiny adjustments in circulation, in breath depth, in muscle tone, as if the body is tuning itself to the sound. Somewhere beyond the window, rain hits water, and the pitch changes again. The overlapping ripples create a soft interference pattern, a quiet shimmer of sound. Physicists would describe it as constructive and destructive interference, peaks and troughs meeting. sometimes amplifying, sometimes canceling. But here it feels like breathing space built right into the noise. You remember times you've heard rain without being able to see it, in the dark, from a closed room, and how the sound was enough to picture the scene. The auditory cortex works with the imagination to fill in the gaps, making the sound almost tactile. Tonight, you can nearly feel the air outside, heavy, cool, carrying the scent of wet soil and leaves. Trevor sighs and rolls slightly, his fur brushing your arm. The touch anchors you in the present moment, even as the rain's rhythm pulls your mind toward the edge of dreaming. You realize you have not thought about the day's work in some time. The rain has been washing the thoughts away, one drop at a time. In sleep studies, rain-like noise is sometimes used to improve the continuity of rest, to prevent sudden wake-ups caused by random environmental sounds. The constant soundscape keeps the sleeping brain from jolting at every unfamiliar creak. Even now you feel that shield forming, a soft barrier between you and anything that might intrude. The sound grows softer, or perhaps you are simply sinking deeper into it. Your breath has slowed, the muscles of your face slackening, eyelids heavier. You could drift here, in this intersection of science and sensation, where neurons fire not to warn, but to soothe. A drop lands heavier than the rest, somewhere close, and the sound blooms outward in concentric circles of awareness before merging back into the whole. This is how the brain handles sensory input during rest, letting small variations pass through, noting them without clinging, folding them back into the safe pattern. You wonder if rain has always been a kind of lullaby for humans, stretching back to nights under leaves or canvas, when the sound meant shelter. Even now, part of you may still hear it that way, as proof that you are dry, protected, and free to sleep. The longer you listen, the less there is to distinguish between the rain outside and the quiet inside your own mind. Both are steady. Both are unhurried. Both will continue whether or not you pay attention. You let the sound carry you, as if the night itself has taken up a gentle rhythm just for you. And in that softened rhythm, you begin to sense another current, not in the ears this time, but somewhere deeper, where thought begins to dream. Trevor sleeps now, his chest rising and falling with unhurried grace. The rain outside is softer, more hum than a song, leaving room for the soundless rhythm beside you. You watch his breathing, the way his sides swell gently, then ease. Between each exhale and the next inhale is a moment, so still it feels like the world has stopped to listen. Your own breath begins to mimic his. Inhale, exhale, pause. The pause is not forced. It arrives naturally, like the lingering echo of a bell. It is not emptiness, but fullness without movement, a small suspension of time where nothing is asked of you. In that pause, the body is not idle. Chemoreceptors in the brainstem quietly measure carbon dioxide and oxygen levels, deciding when to signal the next inhale. The heart, freed from the small acceleration of inhalation, beats more slowly. Blood flows with less turbulence. The nervous system tilts toward the parasympathetic, the branch that restores rather than spends. Slow breathing like this, especially when the exhale is long and the pause gentle, activates the vagus nerve. This wandering nerve touches nearly every organ, carrying messages between body and brain. When it hears the pattern of calm breath, it sends out its own message. You are safe. You can soften. Heart rate variability, the small changes in timing between beats, increases, a sign of flexibility and resilience. Trevor's breaths are steady enough that you can count them, though the counting soon fades into simply noticing 10, maybe 12 in a minute, far slower than the breath of a busy mind. Your own rate slows to meet his. You feel the difference. Muscles around the ribs loosen, shoulders drop their guard, the brow smooths without trying. Breathing is one of the few automatic processes you can also control at will. You can speed it, slow it, deepen it, or hold it. This bridge between conscious and unconscious systems is why breath is central in so many traditions, meditation, prayer, chanting, song. To change the breath is to speak directly to the body's oldest instincts. In the quiet, you notice how air moves in you. The inhale begins low, belly lifting slightly, diaphragm contracting to make space for lungs to fill. The exhale is longer, slower, a gentle release of pressure. Then the pause. In that stillness, no air moves, yet you are not starved. The blood still carries enough oxygen, enough to give every cell what it needs. The pause becomes proof that you are already supplied, already complete. Science calls the natural pause after exhale the post-expiratory pause. In sleep, it often lengthens. In calm wakefulness, it can be invited without strain. This pause allows gas exchange in the lungs to finish its cycle before the next breath. It also gives the heart a chance to reset its rhythm, to lower demand for a moment before the next wave of oxygen arrives. Trevor shifts slightly, his chest brushing against your arm. You feel the warmth of his breath radiating outward. Even without seeing, you can sense the timing. A gentle puff, then nothing, then another puff. Breath is more than air. It's temperature, sound, rhythm, and touch. You decide to focus only on the pause. Inhale, exhale, pause. In that pause, the mind's usual movement slows. Thoughts become less like sentences and more like clouds drifting without hurry. You can feel your awareness expanding in the stillness, as if the pause is a room with walls made of air. The body knows this pattern. In moments of safety, humans and other animals naturally breathe slower. It's why a cat on a sunny windowsill or a child in deep sleep seems to radiate peace. The respiratory centers in the brain are tuned to adjust breath based on signals from the body's sensors, but they also respond to the signals we send on purpose. Breathing as if you are safe often convinces the body that you are. In the past, you may have thought of breathing as just an exchange of gases, but in truth, it is also an exchange of messages. Every inhale tells the heart to quicken slightly. Every exhale and pause tells it to slow. This constant conversation between lungs and heart is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. It is a mark of adaptability, and it flourishes when you breathe slowly, without rush. Outside, a heavier drop of rain strikes the gutter, then another, and another, creating its own breath-like rhythm. Tap, tap, pause, tap. You realize the world is filled with pauses if you listen for them, between waves, between bird calls, between words in a conversation. The pause is not the absence of the thing. It is part of the thing. Without it, the thing would lose its shape. Trevor's breathing deepens, a small sign he is drifting into a deeper sleep stage. In humans, slow, regular breathing often accompanies slow-wave sleep, the phase where the body repairs tissues, strengthens the immune system, and consolidates memories. Even awake, borrowing the breathing patterns of deep rest can nudge the body toward the same repairs. You let your exhale lengthen just a little more, feeling the pause widen without effort. Somewhere inside, a sympathetic nervous system, the one that braces for action, steps back another pace. The muscles of your neck loosen. The eyes grow heavier. You are still awake, but closer to the edge where waking blends into dreaming. The science of slow breathing has measured effects: reduced blood pressure, lower cortisol, improved mood regulation. But here, in the quiet room, the science is simply lived. It is in the way your hand has stopped fidgeting, in the way the rain sounds nearer, in the way the pause feels like both a shelter and a doorway. Trevor exhales again, long and unbroken, then rests in that space before the next inhale. You rest there with him. Your awareness is not gone. You can feel your heartbeat, the weight of the blanket, the coolness of the air at the tip of your nose. But everything is softened. You think of how the pause between breaths mirrors other pauses in life. The quiet after a conversation ends, the stillness after a wave pulls back, the space between two notes of music. Each one holds its own form of potential, a moment not yet decided. In breath, that potential is life itself, waiting gently for the next cycle to begin. You could stay here indefinitely, riding the pattern, inhale, exhale, pause. Each cycle washes the nervous system in calm, each pause widening the space where nothing urgent lies. If thoughts appear, they are slow enough to notice without catching. If feelings surface, they arrive softened by air. Outside, the rain grows quieter still, its drops further apart, its own pauses longer. The rhythm of night and breath seem to meet, as though they've agreed to keep time together. Trevor stirs faintly, but does not wake. His next inhale is almost silent, but you feel it through the shared air. You realize the pause is not truly empty. It is full of presence, of the subtle life that continues even when nothing moves. You linger in the stillness, aware of the life held quietly between breaths. And somewhere in that space, another rhythm begins to call, one that rises. Not from air, but from the steady currents within your own body. The rain, the warmth, the quiet, they seem to braid together into one long thread, winding slowly through the room. You watch it stretch, loop, and rest, as if it has nowhere else to go. The minutes no longer feel like ticking numbers. They are textures, the soft fur under your hand, a muted hum of rain, the steady pulse of Trevor's chest beneath your palm. It takes a while to realize what has changed. Time has slowed, not in the way it does when you wait impatiently, but in the way it does when you are not waiting for anything at all. You are not measuring, not planning. You are simply here, and so each moment has room to grow. Trevor seems to live like this always. He lifts his head, looks at you with slow eyes, then rests it back down. No hurry, no clock. His life is shaped by cycles rather than hours. Hunger, rest, play, stillness, and tonight, the cycle is stillness. Your own sense of time is a more fragile thing. The brain carries multiple clocks, the circadian rhythm, aligned to the sun, the ultradian rhythms that govern shorter cycles of alertness and fatigue, and the subjective clock, which ticks faster or slower, depending on what you're feeling and noticing. In high stimulation, time feels fast. In calm, it expands. Attention is the gatekeeper. When you focus deeply on one thing, the brain stops slicing time into its usual pieces. The prefrontal cortex, which handles planning and sequencing, steps back, allowing sensory areas to take the lead. In this room, vision, hearing, touch, and smell all agree on the same pace. The result is a unified field of now got the rain outside, is a metronome without a strict beat. It shifts slightly, like a musician stretching notes for expression. Your heartbeat, slowed by rest, seems to take its cues from the rain, settling into a pace you could keep for hours. In this state, the amygdala, often quick to scan for threats, quiets, reducing its demands on attention. With fewer interruptions, time's flow feels smooth, like a river after the rapids. Trevor stirs, stretching one leg without opening his eyes. You notice how even this small movement seems to last longer, as if the air has thickened just enough to hold it. Your own movements follow suit, slower, more deliberate, more felt. There's science here too. In moments of mindfulness or deep rest, the brain's default mode network, the system that spins stories about past and future, calms down. This makes mental space, which we interpret as spaciousness in time, without the constant weaving of before and after. The present moment is no longer squeezed between them. You recall times when the opposite was true, when stress compressed the day, and you arrived at evening feeling as though the hours had been stolen. In those moments, the sympathetic nervous system kept your senses darting between tasks, shrinking the space for any single moment to be noticed. Tonight is the counterbalance. Every drop of rain seems accounted for. Your breathing mirrors this. Pace, inhale, exhale, pause. The pauses feel longer now, but in truth they are just more visible to your awareness. This is the paradox. When you slow down enough to notice time, it feels like you have more of it. Psychologists call it the time dilation effect of attention. The mind, even more sensory detail to record, assumes more time must have passed. Trevor yawns, and the slow unfurling of his jaw seems like a small lesson. Movements don't have to rush to be complete. You try the same, stretching your fingers, then letting them rest. The motion feels more luxurious when it isn't pressed forward by the next thing to do. Outside, the rain shifts to a gentler fall, each drop distinct in the cooler air. You imagine them as markers on a scale, but the melody is too fluid to map. This unpredictability is part of why it feels endless. Your brain can't measure it exactly, so it stops trying. Memory plays a role here too. A hippocampus encodes events as they happen, and more detail often equals more perceived time. In a state of rest, with senses open and alert but not tense, the hippocampus takes in more texture. The slight scent of rain drifting in through the window, the faint creak of the building settling, the warmth under your hand. Later, looking back, you may remember this as a longer moment than the clock would show. Trevor breathes deeply, his chest pressing against your arm. You can feel his body heat and the gentle rhythm of his life continuing beside you. There's no reason to look at the clock. In fact, you don't want to. The spell would break. Your own heartbeat seems to slow even further, resting between beats as though reluctant to move on. The parasympathetic nervous system is in full sway now, guiding digestion, repair, and immune function in the background. This is the body's version of long-form time, steady, unhurried, and deliberate. You think about how animals, plants, even landscapes have their own tempos. Trees measure time in seasons, rivers in floods and droughts, mountains in erosion. Trevor's time is counted in naps, meals, and the occasional burst of play. Yours could be too, if you let it. The clocks on the wall and in your devices are useful, but they are not the only ones. The room's light has changed, softer now, diffused by the rain clouds. This too seems slower, the way dusk lingers before night. In nature, light cues the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, adjusting hormones like melatonin to shift you toward rest. You feel it working now, eyelids heavier, muscles warmer. You imagine stepping entirely into Trevor's sense of time. No anticipation, no tallying, just an unbroken awareness of what is happening in the body and around it. Scientists sometimes call this flow, but here it feels less like flow and more like still water, clear, deep, undisturbed. The rain outside continues, its rhythm now so familiar it feels internal. The sounds you first noticed as individual events have merged into a single presence, like the background hum of the ocean. This, too, changes how time is felt. Constant sensory input without disruption smooths the brain's record of the moment, making it feel continuous. Trevor shifts again, curling closer. His warmth against your side is another marker of time's expansion. You can feel each small adjustment as if it were a chapter in a slower story. The world outside may still be moving at its usual pace, but in here, you have made your own climate, your own calendar. You close your eyes for a moment, and the scene holds steady. Rain, warmth, quiet, breathing. Time doesn't vanish when you stop looking at it. It simply stops demanding to be measured. You rest in this stretched moment, as if it could hold you forever. And somewhere within that softness, another sensation begins to rise, a pull that feels less like time passing and more like being carried. The rain, once a steady percussion, has thinned into a faint, almost invisible mist. Its voice is so soft now, you must lean your attention toward it to hear. Outside, the air seems heavier, the kind of weight that keeps sense close to the ground. Earth, leaves, and the faint sweetness of something blooming in the dark. The sky has deepened into velvet, a blue so dark it edges toward black. The last light of the day dissolves without a fight, making way for night to fully claim the world. Shadows in the room grow rounder, gentler, no longer shaped by angles of sunlight, but by the even hush of darkness. Beside you, Trevor stirs. A slow stretch arcs through his body, front paws pressing forward, spine curving, a small tremor running through him before he curls again. His breathing returns to its quiet rhythm, each inhale and exhale like a closing phrase in a song that has been playing all evening. You find yourself breathing with him once more, as if your bodies have been following the same metronome all along. The room feels warmer now, though the air itself is cool. This warmth is not from the weather, but from the slowing of your own body. In the lead-up to sleep, your core temperature begins to drop slightly, a signal to your brain that it is time to rest. Blood vessels in your hands and feet open, releasing heat outward. The process is called vasodilation, and it's one of the body's quiet preparations for the journey ahead. Your eyelids grow heavier. This, too, is no accident. As darkness deepens, your pineal gland releases more melatonin, the hormone that tells your internal clock the day is done. Light, or its absence, is the cue. Tonight, the rain clouds and the fading day have worked together to send that message early and gently. Trevor's tail twitches once, then is still. His position, curled, head resting on his paws, is the same one you have seen him take countless times before sleep. Animals often find the same shapes each night, a kind of body memory that says, here is where safety lives. You shift under the blanket, mirroring that curve, finding your own safe shape. The mist outside makes the night feel closer, as if the boundary between indoors and outdoors has thinned. You can almost imagine the air from outside flowing in, cooled and cleaned by its passage through the rain. Each breath feels quieter, deeper, as if the lungs have learned something from the stillness in the room. The science of these moments is subtle but vast. As you move towards sleep, the parasympathetic nervous system takes the lead, slowing heart rate, softening muscle tone, quieting the production of stress hormones. Brain activity begins to shift toward the slower alpha and theta waves, patterns, that bridge the waking mind and the first stages of sleep. It's a crossing over, but without sharp edges. Trevor sighs, the sound barely more than a warm breath against the air. You let your own breath answer in kind, a slow exhale that carries with it whatever thoughts still linger from the day. The rain outside gives a final scattered patter before fading almost entirely, leaving only the occasional drop sliding from a leaf or roof dot in the absence of constant sound. You notice smaller ones, the faint creak of wood as the room adjusts to the night's cooler air, the soft rustle of fabric when you shift, the whisper of your own breath against the pillow. These details feel amplified, as if the night has leaned in to speak quietly. Your mind moves more slowly now, thoughts arriving less like sentences and more like single words or images. A ripple on water, the warmth of Trevor's fur, the smell of damp earth. This slowing is not loss, but refinement, the brain conserving energy, letting go of anything that isn't needed for the next few hours. The darkness is full, but not empty. It wraps the room the way water wraps a stone, fully, gently, without hurry. You realize that peace has been building all evening, layer by layer. In the sound of the rain, the weight of warmth, the patterns of shadow, The pauses between breaths, the soft expansion of time. Each moment was a thread, and now the threads are woven. Trevor's breathing deepens again. He has crossed into sleep, his chest rising and falling without variation. Watching him, you feel that same edge beneath your own awareness, the thin line where wakefulness meets the first drift of dreams. Your body has already begun the descent. Muscles slack, heart steady, mind unguarded. You let your eyes close? Not to block the night, but to join it. Behind your lids, shapes move in slow, unimportant ways. Perhaps remnants of the day, perhaps the first sketches of dreams. Your breath is slow enough now that the pauses feel almost endless. Outside, the mist holds the world in suspension. Time has no edges here. There is only the ongoing softness of the night. Every sense tells you the same thing. There is nothing to do but rest. You think, just for a moment, about the lesson hidden in this quiet, that peace is not a rare visitor, but something that lives in the smallest, most ordinary places. In the curl of a sleeping animal, in the weight of a blanket, in the sound of rain meeting earth. You have been carrying pieces of it all night, and now you carry it into sleep. Trevor shifts once more. The smallest adjustment, then is still. His breathing is the last sound you focus on before the rest of the world recedes. You let the darkness hold you, the night's threads still warm in your hands. And as you drift, you wonder if dreams might simply be another way of listening to the quiet,